Hello and a warm welcome to this session on mathematics anxiety. I'm Dr. Silke Goebel. I'm a reader at the Department of Psychology at the University of York, where I lead the Numerical Cognition Lab, so a research lab, and my group has been interested in mathematical development for a very long time. In recent years, we've carried out a large longitudinal study in primary schools in Yorkshire. So if your primary school has participated, thank you very much. We're really interested in mathematical development and numeracy development, and we want to continue that research now to look into transition into secondary school and also looking at fractions and rational numbers. I've also written a book together with two colleagues, an introduction to mathematical cognition, which gives a sort of brief overview of what we know about the cognitive basis of number processing skills and differences between children, and that includes a chapter on mathematics anxiety. So today in this session we'll focus on mathematics anxiety, and there'll be a few videos giving you sort of brief overviews of mathematics anxiety. I'm sorry we don't have an interactive session, so if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I hope you'll enjoy the session.
In these videos today, we will look at what is math anxiety, how do we measure it, how is it related to mathematical achievement or performance in math class, what are the cognitive consequences and risk factors that we know about for children, and do we know about how we can actually help children with math anxiety. And I'll focus on one technique, expressive writing. So let's start with what is mathematics anxiety. Mathematics anxiety has been described as a feeling of tension and anxiety that interferes with the manipulation of numbers and the solving of mathematical problems in a wide variety of ordinary life and academic situations. So what's really important is that mathematics anxiety is a really strong emotion. And when children or adults experience this, they can experience quite a lot of the typical symptoms of anxiety, which are physical. So they might have heart race, they might have breathing more quickly, they might sort of get sweaty palms, they might blush, they might have a feeling of panic. And one of the interesting things that research has recently shown, and I've put the reference down there on the slide, is that actually if you look at people who have high math anxiety in comparison to people with low math anxiety, when people that have very high math anxiety know that they're going to have to do some math tasks, so anticipating doing some math tasks, actually they are activating strongly brain areas that are to do with threat detection and pain. So these are really strong emotional sort of responses. If you think about a threat or you're anticipating pain, that's the feeling and the emotions that people with very high math anxiety develop when they're anticipating mathematical problems and having to engage with them. And one of the main problems of mathematics anxiety and having these strong emotions about math is that this contributes to avoidance. So children or adults who have this, obviously naturally if you have these strong feelings, you want to avoid having those feelings, but you also want to avoid interacting with somebody that creates this anxiety. And this can lead to children not engaging with their homework, later on not choosing subjects where you need to have a certain amount of mathematics and so on. So that's a real problem. Now, one thing that people might think is perhaps one of the reasons why people have math anxiety is because in mathematics often we get tested. Children get asked to do a question in front of somebody else in the classroom or something, so perhaps it is really more about being anxious about being tested. And while there is a relationship between general anxiety and also test anxiety and math anxiety, actually a large amount of the variance in math anxiety, up to 2/3 of math anxiety, is not related to test anxiety. So it's separate from that. It's quite its own specific anxiety. It's also not related to IQ or general performance, or here you can see verbal achievement. So children can have math anxiety whether they sort of very quick and fast and bright or not. Why is it important to look at it? I guess I don't have to tell you, but just to give you the background is there has been this question whether there's a mathematic crisis in the UK. And in this review by Carrie in 2019 that I'm going to quote a lot, which was an outcome of the project Understanding Mathematics Anxiety funded by the Nuffield Foundation, So I've put the link of the report on here, and I also provided in the additional resources. They basically say one of the reasons for people having low numeracy could be that they have math anxiety. So here, in a report in 2011, only 22% of adults have math skills, functional math skills, that are equivalent to at least the GCSE grade of C. And this has dropped over the recent years, and actually is much better for literacy. And they suggest this could be to do with people's attitudes, that many people might think that math is a skill we're born with and you can't learn it, and that these attitudes lead to demotivation, but that it also might be related to math anxiety. And what they're also saying is if this report suggests 4 of 5 adults in the UK have a low level of numeracy. So this obviously has financial consequences, but also that means that children growing up in a household with low numeracy, and possibly with parents who might have math anxiety and low numeracy. And this can create even more issues with math, and can contribute to a cycle of poverty, and social mobility might be lessened with this. So these are